Hello again to another SOLIDWORKS C standalone lesson. Today we are going to be creating the user interface for our application. So to do that, let's go to the Forms Designer and let's obviously there was a button here that I've deleted it. You can do that as well. And let's begin by adding controls to our form. First, let's add a status bar. So a status strip. I'm gonna paste that here. And inside the status strip, I want to add a progress bar. So let's click here. Obviously, Visual Studio is busy. Let's just give it a second. So I'm going to add a progress bar, and I'm going to call it SW progress bar. Yeah. After that, let's add another. Now let's add a label. So it's status label, and let's rename this to SW status SW timer or SW time. And let's change here the name to the time, so that will be 00 for hour, and another four zeros for the minute and the seconds. Let's add another one and another status. We'll call it SW file name. And let's change this to the value of ready. Alright. Now, this looks like a very basic status bar, and this is going to show the progress of the custom properties being changed. This is going to show the time, and this is going to show the file name that the application is currently processing. We want to add now a data grid view. And the reason why we're adding a data grid view, because it's easier to link it to a list or a binding list of our custom property object, and it's better than using a list view control or any other type of lists. So a data grid view is basically the best fit. Some people would say that you use data grid views with databases, and that's not the case that we are working with today. So I think we can start with this size in terms of the data grid view. Let's enable the column reordering as well, and we want to add 4 more buttons. So let's add button, this button right here. We're gonna call this one browse, or let's call it SW browse. So this one is gonna browse to a directory, right? And I'm gonna add also another button here, here, and I think here. So this one will be to remove a custom property from the list of properties that we want to process. So this one will be removed. I'll change also the text to remove, right? SW remove. This one will be add, so SW add. Let's go back here and change this to add. This one will be to process, right? So let's change the text here to process. Obviously, we're going to call it SW process. And the last one obviously will be the SW cancel. So when we want to cancel the we want the application to cancel the operation of process. We want the application rather to stop processing files. we'll just click this button right here. So the text here will be cancel. If I go ahead and start debugging, then just give it a second. And obviously, when I resize the application, the buttons and the grid view are not properly resizing as well. So what I want to do is that I'm going to use what I call a, a table layout that's going to help us straighten out the layout of our form. So let's go ahead and add a table layout panel rather, sorry. And what I want to do is that I want to section this to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 rows and 2 columns, right? So let's go ahead and edit rows. So we said that we want 5 rows, rather, sorry, 5 columns. So we have 2, let's add 1, 2, and this would be the 5th column. And let's all select these and change them to the percentage, and we'll give them 20%, right? I wonder how many I've got. 5, yeah, that's correct. 20% each. So these are going to take 20% of the width of the form. And now let's go to the rows, and I want to have 2 rows, just like mentioned here. However, I want the second row to be at an absolute value so that when we resize up, when we size in this direction right here, these button will not grow or go in size proportionally. So that means let's put them at 20 pixels. Yeah, 20 pixels is enough. And automatically the rest will be given to the first row. So when I click on OK, this is going to resize, this is going to section or divide the table layout as we've told it to do. And what I want now is to bring the grid view to this cell right here, and this is the trick right here, is that it is now at the column index 0 and at the row index 0. I wanted to spread it actually, or to span it through the rest of the columns. So what I want to do is I'm going to change the column span right here and put it at 5. Right? So this is gonna span across the 5 columns. And the way that the visual here doesn't actually correspond to, it's not spanning actually across the 5 columns simply because it's not being docked to full. So I can just resize it here. But once we dock it to full, it's gonna actually span across the entire surface of these 5 columns. And that's where we're gonna do here. As for the rows, I think having one, the row span will be 1, I think. This is the row span is 1. We actually need it to be in this to take the rather to be in the area of all of this row right here. So we'll just keep it that, we'll keep the row span at 1. And let's go to the dock, and let's change that to full, or rather filled, sorry. And we'll do the same thing for the buttons here. So I'm just gonna resize them to this size so I can put them. Alright, so we'll do the same here. 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 And I'm gonna take these buttons right here, and I'm gonna change their dock style to fill again. So when I dock the entire table layout panel, this is what the application will look like. Obviously I'm selecting the data grid view, so If I can't select it, I'll just right click and click on select table layout. And yep, let's change the dark to fill. And obviously the 20 pixels are not enough, so we'll just go here and we'll edit. We'll go to the rows and we'll change this to double the size of that. I'll put it at 40 and I'm going to click on OK. So that looks way much better. Now when we click on start, this is what the application is going to look like. So this is actually looks way much better. The only downside to this is that when you resize the application to a very small size, that's when it doesn't look appealing. So what we're gonna do, right, is that we're gonna go back to the form and we're gonna put in a minimum size. So minimum size, let's say that we want this to be the width at 500 by 400, right? So let's see that size. And so you can't actually resize it to lower than the minimum size, and this looks way much better. And this actually looks better than what we initially started with. So there you have it, guys. This is the UI of our application. In the next lesson, we're gonna add the code to the form loading method and these buttons as well. We're gonna add some code behind that's gonna handle the clicks and the of these buttons right here. And after that, we will build the application, test it, and that will seal the deal. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, then you can obviously put them down in the comment section below. Or you can send me an email to amen@cadhero.com. That's AMEN @cadhero.com. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.